Well, hello there, my teacher friends. Welcome to the Beyond Measure podcast. My name is Christina Whitlock, and I've been making it my responsibility to bring you a dose of music teacher solidarity every week for a little over 5 years now. I like to call myself your anytime piano teacher friend, and I've just got to say, maybe it's the warm, gushy feelings of the holiday season. I don't know, but I am so grateful for those of you who choose to listen to this podcast. There are many things you could be doing with the next 20 minutes of your life, and it is humbling to know you are spending it with me. I want to give double thanks to the members of my Super Friends community on Patreon. Those are the people who keep this show going through small contributions of $3 or $6 every month. For more information on how you can help keep this show ad-free, head to christinawhitlock.com/community and see how you can help. For now, friends, let's get on with the show. You are listening to episode 241 of the Beyond Measure podcast. I'm all about balance over here, and since last week's episode was a little on the heavy side, I thought I would bring you a lighthearted reflection today on the stuff I've accumulated over the course of my teacher career. We live in a conflicted time. On one hand, society tells us there is so much stuff we need. Yet, we also seem to be bombarded with messaging about minimalism and getting rid of all of life's non-essential items. I've learned over the years that I'm hypersensitive to both of those messages. I love stuff. I do. My teacher heart loves piano books and manipulatives and basically anything that will fit on the surface of a piano key. I have a hard time getting rid of my kids' toys because my teacher brain is constantly telling me things that I could do with those things in my lessons. At the same time, I love clean, clear spaces. I love drawers that you can open without having to jiggle them around to free up space above or beneath. I love being able to look into a cabinet and actually see what's in there without moving 17 things out of the way first. Since I do have kids at home, and I do have a genetic predisposition to collecting stuff, it's easy for me to approach this dilemma as an all or nothing solution. But that's almost never the answer, is it? True story, I have spent a good part of this year vilifying the stuff in my house. I am so overwhelmed by the amount of things that we own. Sometimes I just want to take a torch to all of it and start over in hopes of better self-control. But then here came the holidays. And even though the holidays mean decorating my house with more stuff, I couldn't help but look around this year and appreciate many of the memories that come with these material items. It's not all bad, friends. Now, I know New Year's is around the corner, and we're all going to be filled with that hope that this is the year we all become better, more organized people. But today, I wanted to have a little story time episode about some of my favorite holiday teacher stuff. So, here's a good one to start. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 years ago, I was teaching a pair of brothers who drove me crazy. They were some of the most unruly students I have taught. They would not stay put in the waiting room of my house while the other was in their lesson, and their mom, who did stay for the entirety of their lesson time, would just smile and shrug her shoulders at me. These boys wandered all around my house. My husband came home to find one of them in our basement one time. They would take food from our dog's bowl and leave little pebbles of it in random places on the floor just because they loved to watch him hunt for it. They weren't great students either. They were whiny and a little lazy. It just wasn't great. Now, mind you, this was almost 20 years ago, so I've learned some things since then. But I put up with these kids because I also taught their mom. And despite my frustrations with her when it came to controlling her children, I loved working with her. She was the epitome of why I love adult students. She would get so pleased with herself when she realized that she had learned something new. And she was thoughtful and hardworking and very pleasant to teach. I loved her lessons, and I didn't want to risk those by expressing frustration over her sons. Anyway, one December, they announced they were moving to California and they would be discontinuing lessons at the end of the month. It was one of those great teacher moments where I just got to let out a huge sigh of relief. Those are always telling moments, aren't they? When you realize just how relieved you are when somebody quits. Before they left, they gave me a Christmas gift, a white porcelain sleigh. Honestly, it felt completely impersonal. It was probably a regift or just something that happened to be on sale on an end cap in the department store somewhere. I don't know. Since they were moving, I promptly packed that gift away and planned to sell it at our garage sale that spring. As fate would have it, that sleigh did not sell at our garage sale that year, so I kept it and I decided to display it the following Christmas. Friends, as the years have worn on, I have absolutely loved pulling that stupid sleigh out of its box each year. For almost 20 years now, it has served as this humorous reminder that all seasons of teaching come to an end. I laugh about how awful those students were, how thrilled I was when they left, how much I enjoyed lessons with their mom, so many things. And I get to relive them every year as I unpack my Christmas boxes. It's an important reminder to my teacher heart that every student comes and goes, the great ones and the not so great ones. I'm sure you have all kinds of student gifts that bring you memories, some good, some funny, some insulting. I shared one of my favorite teacher gift stories here on the podcast last year, and I will link that episode in today's show notes in case you're interested in another one. But here's a second story for you that relates to one of the most important holiday fixtures in our home. When I was in grad school, I worked with a lot of student composers. I had the pleasure of debuting many new piano works by young composers that I really enjoyed. But in 2005, I was assigned for part of my graduate assistantship to perform a new work by a student composer, and it was not a pleasant experience. This composer had written a piece for piano and tenor, and when he decided that he could not find a vocalist that met his approval, he decided he would sing the vocal part himself. Now, mind you, he was not a trained vocalist in any way. During our rehearsals, he frequently berated me for not sounding like what he imagined inside of his head. We had a notable argument involving his emphatic directives to use the sostenuto pedal which I was doing, only to find out later, after much yelling on his part, that he actually meant the una corda pedal. Anyway, this was a mess. My faculty advisor was livid with him. It was a whole thing. I just needed to get through the student composers concert so I could move on and never speak to this person again. The day of the concert, I found myself in such a state. In hindsight, I recognize it as a panic attack. But I did what every music major did in the early 2000s, and I left the practice room to go sit in the computer lab. Yes, before we all had internet on our cell phones, we would avoid practicing under the guise of needing to check our email in the computer lab. Imagine that. That day, I ripped off a panicky email to my then fiance, now husband, explaining how I couldn't imagine how I was going to survive this day. A few minutes later, Michael wrote me back and he said, "I have a surprise for you. You just have to breathe, get through this concert, and I promise I have something to make you feel better." Well, I survived the concert. I can't say much better than that. I still remember sitting with Michael in the parking garage after the performance and him saying, "What was that?" There was this particular moment when the composer emphatically yelled something about a sheep. It was just a whole thing, guys. I was so happy to have it behind me. I felt validated that many people had acknowledged what a terrible experience I had had. And then my sweet husband-to-be took me to his house and surprised me with an artificial Christmas tree he'd purchased and set up earlier that day. He'd picked out some lights and some ornaments, and I just thought it was the best thing. I was in my second year of grad school, in that weird limbo between being a child in my parents' home and preparing to be a wife in my own home. And there was something so comforting about seeing what would become our family Christmas tree. And friends, I've got to tell you, neither of us had any money at that point. I know he did not pay much for that tree, but to this day, that is a good-looking Christmas tree. We set it up this year, and it hit me that this is our 20th year with that tree, and I just can't believe it. We lose 7 million needles off that thing every single year, but it still looks full, and people mistake it for a real tree every year. And even though setting up artificial trees is a total pain, it always gives me a chance to reflect on that December day in 2005 when I went from feeling the worst to feeling the best. Thanks for indulging me with that story, friends. Back to teacher-related things. I can't let an episode about my favorite holiday things go by without talking about the ornaments that I have made for my students every year. See, when I started teaching at age 14, my mom wisely suggested that I start making ornaments for my students at Christmas time. I did that for my first few years of teaching, and then I kind of stopped. But in 2006, I resurrected the tradition, and I have not missed a year since then. Plus, I've only repeated an ornament design once. Now, many of you make or gift ornaments to your students every year, so I know this is not unique to me. But in 2006, I started making myself an ornament also. And as both of my girls have become students of mine, they've started getting their own ornaments as well. Every ornament is unique, but they each have the year and the student's name. Now, every year, one of my favorite parts of trimming our Christmas trees is to pull out each of my student ornaments, years 2006 and forward. Every ornament has its own memories. There's the cheap and quick foam snowflakes I assembled in the car one year, the bulbs that I hand painted glittery piano keyboards on while my newborn baby was laying on her boppy pillow next to me, the sleds my husband handcrafted for all of us one year. It's funny because some of my ornaments are really cute and some are, well, not. And those remind me of the years that I really just needed to phone it in because time or money or something else was in short supply. I love seeing the ornament collection grow from the years that I just have one for me to the years when I have two, and then three as my daughters started earning their own ornaments. So it's true that some of my students don't particularly care about this ornament tradition, but I am pleased at how many of my students show genuine enthusiasm over what ornament I choose to make this year. And I have many longtime students who have entire trees devoted to piano studio ornaments in their homes. I think I'm going to share some pictures of my ornaments through the years to everyone on my email list this week. So if you aren't already signed up for Piano Teacher Confessions, make sure you get on that list so you can see examples of what I've done over the years later this week. I think the ornament collection is, again, a lovely reminder of the various seasons we travel when teaching. We are all guilty of thinking that life will always feel like it does today, even though we have experiences that have taught us that it changes in the blink of an eye. I know this feels like sort of a self-indulgent episode to be sharing, and maybe it was, but my hope is that it reminds you that there can be value in the memories of stuff. So it is true that memories live in our hearts and not in our possessions. But having tangible reminders to help trigger those memories is something I'm particularly grateful for this year. I also have to note how much of a through line music study is in all of my memories. On one hand, it is important that we all realize we are more than piano teachers and our identities are made up of many more things than what we do for work. But also, there is something about music teacher life that is all-encompassing. The memories that we have from being students ourselves and of our teachers, to becoming teachers ourselves and being musicians through all of it, that's impactful on many levels. That old adage about the days being long, but the years being short. Oh, yeah, I feel that, friends. Who knows how many more years I'll be making ornaments for my daughters? Like, will I stop once they graduate and move out and aren't technically piano students anymore? Who knows? I guess I'll make that decision later when I have to. Okay, friends, let's toast ourselves out of here and get on with this memorable season, shall we? Studio music teacher friends from all around the world, I raise my glass to you today in hopes that you, too, will enjoy a walk down memory lane today. If you don't have possessions to trigger those remembrances, maybe this episode was enough to spark some good thoughts. Cheers to feeling all the feels, my friends. Hear, hear. Thanks again for joining me for this trivial little episode, friends. I'm leaving links in today's show notes for past holiday episodes, how to sign up for my email letter, and information on becoming a super friend so you can help make sure this show stays on the air in 2026. All that and more await you at christinawhitlock.com/episode 241. Next week, I'm offering up a year in review of sorts. That should be fun, so I hope you'll tune back in for that one. I can't wait to let you in on what's in store for the new year. Thanks again, friends. Enjoy the merriment of December.